I mean, it's free, so that's kind of, you just gotta. How does my mic sound? It sound all right? All right, just making sure. Yeah, I haven't. I used to use this every day. I haven't. I just use it with you guys now. Much. Okay. Okay. All right. Let me share it. Let me share the link. Oh, did you share it on Twitter? Okay. Ooh, man, the Phillies are crushing the Yankees right now. 11-3 in the sixth inning. Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with. I could talk baseball, but not like you guys. You guys are a little more versed in that stuff. I I only watch like two teams. I watch the Rangers, and I watch the Yankees because they're interesting. All right, I just went to your page. Oh.
Does perfect even mean?
What do you want to start with today?
Is there even such a thing? Ooh,
Okay.
can we switch up all the
Cool.
rules and imagine a utopia?
Yeah.
Darling, I'm just so fed up with this
And that TCU SMU thing is pretty hilarious.
town. My heart is begging me
You want me to fill you in right now or live on air?
of my head.
Okay.
Wanna live inside the
So you're gonna hear. I mean, it's not the craziest thing, but it just seems it seems lame by TCU.
honey, I'm a perfect 10. Whoa.
Well, they had a game scheduled, but you know how like the Big 12 is doing a one out of conference game. So SMU was supposed to go to TCU to play the game, or no, TCU was supposed to go to. No, yeah. Hold on, let me make sure I have this story straight. That might be smart to do before we go on. Yeah, so SMU was supposed to host TCU, but since they're supposed to have one out of conference game, they wanted a home game. So instead of driving down to Dallas, they're instead scheduling Tennessee Tech because it kind of sounds like they're scared to play them. And like they play this game every year. And this year they're not going to do it because they want to have a home game instead of driving 40 minutes away. It is weird. All right, let me just drink a coffee. All right, I'm ready.
Welcome to another episode of the 1203 Experience. A lot has happened in the past week. Lots of exciting things to talk about. As usual, I'm Reed Graff. Joining me for the second time is the guy you've heard before, is Sean and Anchondo. Sean, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thanks for having me on. It's good. It's good to finally come back. It's been a while. It has been a while.
It
Seems like time
a few
is
months.
Time, yeah, time's bbeen kind of. Oh, whoa. Sorry, my dogs.
It's all good. It happens.
I'm over here ruining the podcast. Give me once.
Little bit of a incident there, but anyway.
It's crazy because they've been quiet for like the last 2 hours.
Literally as soon as we start the live show.
Really? Yeah. Hey, well, I just had a package come in, and my guard dogs. You talk about personal stuff. This is how you start off the podcast. I have 2 dogs over here, and they like to wake up the baby, so that's what's going on.
The personal alarm system going off at the wrong time. You know, as soon as you start the show, it's like, oh, that's our time. That's our cue. Time to get live. Hey, they're just excited the 1203 is live, man. That's all it is.
Let's go.
That's all it is. 1203 Experience, man. Let's jump into it today, Sean. What you been up to since we last saw you?
Well, so I've been working at bars like for the last few years. I work at a food truck when I'm not in school, and like since bars are closed, I've been kind of like been doing this delivery thing for Shipped. So that's that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to make money somehow. Because everything else is just totally shut down, but it's all working out. I do that in the morning, and then at night, I get to hang out with the family. So it's kind of cool.
I think everyone is just in this current state of just trying to find ways to make money, because it's very hard to find a job right now, and it much less sports media, which is what, of course, guys like yourself and Parker and what we all work in. There's no work in that business right now. And so it's a really weird time. And, we complain about it, but like the entire economy is in that same situation,
Yeah.
Like nobody's working, and the ones that are lucky to be working. But
yeah, it's been a, I mean, I don't know if this is a crazy take, but it's been a crazy year.
Oh, dude, that's the wildest take we've had on the show.
Yeah, no, like this is what I'm here to bring some crazy takes. That's what I'm here for.
Well, I would love to hear your crazy takes. We've got some interesting things to talk about. Had a couple interesting things happen this week, right? I mean, we've had the college football world just about fall apart in the past 12 hours. So we'll have to break into that a little bit. I mean, it seemed like all of this college football news came out in the past 2 days.
Yeah. Especially that UConn news. I don't know if that's what you wanted to start off with, but I kind of want to start off with that. Are you following that UConn story?
That's definitely some of the bigger news from the situation. So, for those of you that don't know, University of Connecticut, UConn, aka the home of Byron Jones, Cowboys' former cornerback. I think he's with the Jags now.
Sadly.
Unfortunately, but that's where he came from. Of course, there's the other guy. He was a safety. He's got a weird name, but he was another just super athletic safety. You know who I'm talking about? I forget. It's like Akita Akinwafu or something like that.
No, I'm not too familiar with UConn players. Byron Jones, I knew about him just before he played with the Cowboys. I knew about him just because of how good he was in the combine, and his long jump and all that were just ridiculous. And he was really good. The Jags paid a lot of money for him, and I almost don't feel comfortable paying Zeke like that much money. And the more I think about the Zeke contract, and there's a lot of stuff, but we're still in college football. We can get to that contract stuff later on.
We'll get to the Cowboys here in a little bit. We've talked Cowboys past couple episodes, but you're a big Cowboys guy, so I definitely want to talk Cowboys with you.
Oh yeah.
Can reciprocate, because when I talk with Parker, I mean, he knows Cowboys, but he's a Texan, man. He's a Texans guy. You're a Cowboys guy, so we can really break it down. So we're definitely going to do that here in a little bit. But yeah, I mean, college football, it's become really interesting because you've had instances where, like the Division 3 have canceled all conference championships. So a lot of those teams aren't going to play. Why would you play if you can't? The reason you play is to play for a championship. If there's no championship, what are we doing? So
Is,
I
oh,
mean
go ahead.
that's a thing to keep in mind. I think we might see a lot of teams opt out because their championships are getting delayed or getting canceled.
Yeah, it's been like it's a bunch of meaningless football, and I want college football to happen more than anyone. The whole UConn thing, I'm kind of like I'm a little bit of both sides. The UConn thing, I've heard like they're an independent school now, right? Or just in the NFL, I mean, not just in college football. So they're independent, and they're not a football school. So it seems like they're losing a lot of money just playing football because they're not going to have any fans in the stands. It just seems like, oh, here's COVID, so we're not going to play football either. So like it could just be an excuse not to play football. And I heard who's saying this? I think I'm gonna talk Doug Gottlieb, even though I can't stand that guy, but he had some pretty good points about them, like saying like, hey, I think they're trying to scrap the football program anyway because it's not. When was the last time UConn was good at football?
I mean,
Like,
I don't even know if they were good when they had Byron Jones.
no, they weren't. I think they only won like 2 or 3 games that year. You could double check me on that. I don't watch UConn football. There's nothing interesting about them. They're a basketball school. They're great men's basketball and even greater women's basketball. And they actually make money from women's basketball. One of the few, I think only them in Tennessee make actually get a profit from women's basketball. There's only like 2 or 3 of them. So they don't really need football. So I think that's a good reason not to have college football there anymore. And what better excuse than a pandemic?
What better excuse to start ushering it out? I mean, that's a good point. I mean, I can tell you the three things that I can think of when I think of UConn athletics. Right? It's obviously you think of the women's basketball program, and then I think as an Astros fan, George Springer. George Springer played at UConn in college.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's where he played his college ball at. And then of course Byron Jones. We already mentioned him. So it's not like this isn't Alabama opting out. This isn't Texas A&M. This isn't a major market team opting out, but it is a Division 1 football team completely canceling its 2020 season, regardless of what team that is. That's significant. I mean, we're going to talk about Texas State football here in a few minutes because you're a big Texas State guy and you're still in the thick of things there. So I'm going to talk to you about that a little bit. But can you imagine if Texas State just up and decided we're not playing? All completely on their own, separate of their conference, separate of their opponents.
Don't say that.
But
Please
just
don't say that.
but just have to. I mean, I know it's an awful thing to think about, but you have to kind of think of it that way when you're thinking about how big of a move this is, of UConn just canceling its season, whether they just lost their conference or not, and they didn't see a reason. You may be right in thinking that there might be some underlying trying to get rid of the football program type things, but at the end of the day, it's a Division 1 football program going out of its way to cancel its own season, and that's a big deal.
Oh, it's a huge deal. I was shocked when I saw it. I kind of think of this like, imagine being a player on that team and wanting to play, and like all these players that are like opting out, and there's good reasons for that. If players don't want to play, they shouldn't play. But I think if this this disease, this virus is going, it looks like it's kind of trending down. Imagine like in the middle of the season imagine it's like how it is in New York with their cases, where they're basically like at a few hundred cases a day, which is nothing. And imagine you're like, man, I shouldn't have opted out. There's gonna be some crazy like FOMO, like fear of missing out. Like imagine like seeing all your friends play, but then I see on some of these other guys like where they're like saying they have like compromised immunity systems and all that kind of stuff, or someone around their house is old or compromised, like they can get sick. So I could see that, but I think a lot of these players, I think a lot of them are gonna regret it.
Another
Regret
thing
not playing in football. Like man, that's what they've done their whole lives. When I stopped playing football, I was depressed for months. But yeah, that's basically where I'm at with that.
And another thing to think about, you have the Minnesota. I think it was Minnesota State had one of their top. I think like their top receivers. He's a big draft guy. They had one of their top
Yeah, yeah,
receivers just completely opt out of the season. And what if? Can you imagine having a season where Tua Tagovailoa? Did I say that right?
yeah,
Can you imagine last year if Alabama has their star quarterback just opt out? I mean,
yeah.
or let's say Texas A&M. What's his name? The quarterback right now. I'm drawing a blank, but their go-to guy.
Or just think of Trevor Lawrence. If I was Trevor
Kellen
Lawrence, I wouldn't play.
Kellen Mond. So
Yeah, Kellen Mond. There you
let's
go.
say Kellen Mond just up and decides I don't feel safe playing. Now all of a sudden Texas A&M is without their quarterback, and that's a serious issue that that college football is facing right now. There's the big issue about because we all know that college football is all about making money. That's all a lot of these schools care about is making their bucks. All of a sudden you can't fill those stands up. You're not selling tickets. You're losing that revenue. There are a lot of schools that may not be able to afford putting together an entire season and not getting any kind of ticket revenue off of that. That's another thing. With how many schools we've already seen canceling some of their programs, maybe they just can't afford to do a football season.
Yeah, I mean, they're weren't they saying they're gonna the NCAA is they're gonna lose money like in the billions if they don't have fans in the stands, like something crazy. It was like a crazy number where the NCAA is gonna lose that's the NFL is gonna lose. The NFL will lose billions, and then the NCAA would lose a crazy amounts of money. I don't have the number on me right now, but this is gonna hurt school. I mean, you're already seeing it like around the country, like in the D3, D2 schools are cutting a lot of a lot of programs. Like if you're cutting like say like men's tennis, you also gotta cut a women's sport. So you can't just cut one sport. You're gonna have to cut two because of the Title IX, all the restrictions with all that. So the future, you're gonna have less sports because of all this. And if you don't, and football is what funds all these things. Like, and you see, like when you're at Texas State or any college, they always talk about like how much people care about football and this, and this. It is football is so important to these universities.
Well, maybe not at Texas State. I dare say volleyball might draw just as many fans as football. Texas State football does.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Those are two programs at very different places. I mean, Texas State volleyball is the top of its game. Texas State football is trying to build. But even then, like, and this is just a knock on Texas State, but I mean, I swear I've been to games where there's been more fans at Texas State, men's basketball than Texas State football. Which, unless you're Duke or like, I don't know, Villanova, like that doesn't happen. It's
a couple years. The game that I where I sat next to you at that Appalachian State game, there was maybe 800 people there. 800 people in a 30,000 seat stadium. I was like, where is everybody?
I remember
so bad.
I was my last year covering Texas State for KTSW. I don't remember. This is going to turn into a crapping on Texas State session, but I'm okay with that. We're all about it. I was covering a game. I was up in the press box for KTSW. I don't remember who they were playing, and Andrew Zimmel, a good friend of ours, big Texas State guy, was sitting in the front row, down in the student section. And he got on the big screen like 4 times, not because he did anything, but because there was nobody there. So they kept going to that one little section of students. So I about the 3rd time I texted him and I said, "Hey, next time they get you on that video board, you need to dab." And he did. And that was how few fans were there, is that you could do stuff like that. Because you knew that the odds of you getting the camera on you were so high. Because where else were they going to go? To the empty seats? I mean. Anyway,
that was the running joke all season too, is how many times Andrew Zimmel could be on the jumbotron.
He got like 5 in one game.
It's at the basketball games. It was a little harder to find him. I mean, I was critical of the fans for the basketball team, because the basketball team was actually really good and no one would show up. But like finally towards the end, people started showing up, and they're like, "Well, can't find Zimmel." But That was just our
even
thing.
though
Like,
even though we were all sitting front row,
yeah,
we would all sit in that very front row, like right behind that right in front of the student, because we get there so early because we're all sports guys, so we're all wired to get there early. So
yeah.
we'd all get there like, I don't know, an hour and a half before tip off,
Hmm.
and we would just just patronize the opposing team while they're warming up, and we would just heckle the hell out of them. Man, those were fun
How,
times.
yeah, I remember. Were you at that UTA game where the whole student section we didn't even let those guys warm up?
No, it was not at that one.
It was that one where we went to double overtime, and it was every time when they're warming up, like they had to like move the student section back because they rope it off,
Yeah.
and like they were like pointing in their face, yelling at them. I was like, whoa, this isn't gonna last very long. And the
I
next week,
remember one game we were sitting front row. I don't remember who they're playing. It was a Sunbelt team. I just don't know exactly which one. And a kid, one of the dudes, the ball bounced to me, right? And I caught it and threw it to the dude from the other team. He caught it, drilled the three, and pointed at me like I done the assist. And I was like, hey, I've got more assists than half the Texas State Bobcats right now, man. But anyway, hey, that's one thing to keep in mind. Texas State might have an advantage. They're used to playing football with nobody in the stands, so maybe
I was thinking that.
maybe we'll have an advantage this season over. I think Texas State is one of and this is another thing that goes to the state of college football. Texas State's one of the few. If you think about this, I don't remember the exact list, but there was Texas State football is one of 5 to 10 football teams that hasn't lost a game in some fashion because of COVID-19. They still have their initial schedule.
Nice. Yeah, because I was at the game. I was broadcasting that game where they beat Appalachian State, and where they were supposed to go to New Orleans for the Sun Belt tournament.
Yeah.
I'm just so bummed out. Like they didn't get to go and play that game. I think they would have been a tournament team. They would have probably got knocked out right away. But man, that Nigel Pearson, that guy was just so good, and he's such a nice guy too when you meet him. And even after the games, even after they lose, he would stay back and he would sign autographs for all the kids. We always made sure we got that on camera. He was a good dude, and he was always willing to do interviews. I had to do an interview with him not too long ago, and he's very very approachable guy. I'm pulling from him. I think he's playing in some Italian league or a French league. It's some.
I thought he was in Germany. I don't know.
Somewhere in Europe that I don't even know. Somewhere.
We were going to talk some NBA on today's show. Parker's our NBA guy. For anyone that's a regular watcher of the show knows that I am not an NBA guy. Even though I know the NBA started their season up again. Odin makes an appearance in the back over there. I know that NBA started their season, but I have not watched a single minute of basketball. I'm a Spurs fan. The Spurs glory days are way over. I have very little incentive to watch. I've been watching baseball, and I'm going to talk some Astros baseball here in a little bit. And I want you're a little bit of a Yankees fan. We're going to talk about Aaron Judge's stretch.
Well, I'm not. I'm kind of. It's I'm married into it. So
let me ask you this: if you had to pick an MLB team, who's your MLB team?
I'm a Rangers fan.
Rangers.
Yeah,
I feel bad for you.
Yeah, I don't know if you've been following the Rangers, but just the injury bug. We got Corey Kluber, who is he was our prize get, and then you have our closer. Our closer got the same injury, and then our bats are cold. Joey Gallo's been pretty good, but then last night you have Lance Lynn, who only allowed one hit, and that one hit was a home run, which tied the game. And he's been really good, but they can't score any points. I think they're 28th in the MLB in scoring this year. So they're not very good. It's not fun.
Well, hey, I don't want to hear about injuries, because let me tell you about injuries. The Houston Astros are currently without Justin Verlander. They are currently without every single one of their opening day bullpen arms but one. And that one dude that was in the opening day bullpen has thrown one inning so far. So he isn't even healthy. We have 9 rookies. We have had 9 different dudes make their major league debut this season. A team that was in the World Series a few months ago has debuted 9 rookies in the first 3 weeks. That's the state of the Houston Astros.
How big are bullpens? Holy shit!
Well,
If
so
you
right now
can't-
they're on that 30-man roster, so that it's extended.
Yeah, I'm saying like how big in baseball? Like I'm not saying how big are they literally, but like man, if you don't have the bullpen, if you don't have good bullpens, you're pretty much dead in the water. Like just look at the Rangers. Like they last couple years, like I think they I don't have the number in front of me, but I know last year every game I would watch, they would always blow a win. Like their starters are pretty good. Like Mike Minor's good. Of course, Lance is good. Lance Lynn, and then you would have thought you would have Kluber this year, but and then just the closers are bad. Like all of our middle guys are bad. It's just not. They have no shot.
Well,
I'm just hoping.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I could have told you the Rangers had no shot from the start.
I knew that too.
Especially when Kluber went down.
Yeah, and like it's kind of weird because you don't have minor leagues, so you don't know who's coming up. I think they're doing like some kind of taxi system. I don't know how much you know about that.
Well, so they have a separate training site. I don't know where the Rangers is. The Astros is in Corpus Christi at their stadium. I'm drawing a blank on the name of it. I think it might just be Hook Stadium.
Yeah.
Whataburger Field. Thank you, Jess. But that's where they're doing theirs at. So basically, like you said, they have a taxi squad. It's like a 3 to 4 man squad. It has to have a catcher that will travel with them to away games. But for home games, you just send them back and forth from Corpus if you need them. Right now, they're at a 30-man roster. I think it'll eventually go down to like 28, and then eventually it'll go down to the 26. That's why a lot of these teams have so many different bullpen arms that you've probably never heard of, especially if you're an Astros fan, because we were running out new dudes seems like every day.
Yeah.
The surprising thing is those rookies have pitched surprisingly well. I mean,
That's a good sign.
A prime example is Nivaldo Rodriguez. He came up.
I saw him. He's good.
He came up, debuted against the freaking LA Dodgers,
Mm-hmm.
and had never pitched past A ball. He didn't even reach Double A. He had never pitched past A ball.
I don't remember who did he start off with. It was a ridiculous guy he struck out for his first.
So
pitch.
his first strikeout was Cody Bellinger, the reigning NL MVP. Think about that. You go from not playing past A ball to striking out the NL MVP in your major league debut in like a few month span. Like
that's insane.
It's pretty crazy. And you know, luckily, right-handed pitching was an area where the Astros farm system that has become weaker over the past few years. That's where it's strong. So luckily, we've been able to delve into that strength. Also, they have a lefty they got from the New York Mets. They traded away Jake Marisnick, an outfielder. Sorry, mother. My mom loves Jake Marisnick. They traded him to the Mets. They got Blake Taylor. Blake Taylor has been lights out. I mean, he's pitched some huge innings. He's looking like a really good bullpen arm. They have another kid. Christian Javier is probably our best pitcher so far, and that's including Lance McCullers and Zach Greinke. Now, Zach Greinke pitched his heart out the other night, and the Astros bats just could not back him up there in LA. They ended up losing that game. But
Lance McCullers, man, that guy just came back from injury, right?
Just came back from Tommy John. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's been pretty solid. He's definitely a little rusty, but he'll get there. I mean, he's an ace type dude. He's that good. I mean, he's really respected around the league, and a lot of top guys in baseball think that he has, Cy Young type stuff. So.
Yeah, I remember seeing him. What was it? In the last World Series, wasn't he like your middle reliever?
No, he was a starter. So
was he then? I thought he wasn't.
In Game 7 of the ALCS, he came out in relief, threw 27 straight curveballs to the Yankees. They couldn't touch it, and then closed out the ALCS. And then he started game 4 of the World Series. I think he started Game 4 and Game 7. I know he started Game 7. I'm trying to remember if he started Game. I don't think he started Game 3, because in the playoffs, no, he might have started Game 3, because Game 1 was Verlander, Game 2 was Keuchel. He must have started Game 3, so he started Game 3 and Game 7. And I might be wrong on the Game 3. I know he started Game 7. Charlie Morton pitched Game 3, which means Lance probably pitched Game 4. So. But yeah, he was awesome. I mean, he was the last pitcher in World Series history get an RBI because now we have the universal DH. That's an interesting stat.
That's yeah, I forgot about that. I love it. I love the universal
I
DH.
do too. I
I
genuinely do.
I've never been an NL guy, and just like a pitcher's hitting, I'm like, it's just like a waste. I was like, why is this still around? Why doesn't everyone just have the same rules like every other sport? Like in the NFL, the NFC and AFC don't have this. They don't have different rules. I don't know. I know you guys are baseball purists, but like, I know I always make fun of you and Parker. Like, you guys are a bunch of get off my lawn type baseball fans, but I'm glad you're in on that one where the universal DH that's what the league needed for a while.
Well, I mean, so here's my stance on it. I completely understand the take that pitchers should be hitting. It brings an element to the game that's really unique and really strategy wise it makes it a little bit more, you have to really think about it. But at the end of the day, I mean, we went that's a 9 times out of 10 it's a free out. A lot of I mean, think about it. A lot of these pitchers are hitting like 110. They'll throw a sack bunt down occasionally, but it's just not competitive. I mean, you have a couple of guys like Zach Greinke, Madison Bumgarner, guys like that can Michael Lorenzen, guys that can swing it a little bit, but but at the end of the day, they're pitchers. That's like asking a catcher to pitch in relief, which happens occasionally, and it's awful. Like, I mean, it's hilarious. It's like, oh, my position player is pitching, and it's a hilarious part of baseball. But the one of the only good moments I can think of that comes from a pitcher hitting was Bartolo Colon's home run in San Diego.
I was just about to say that.
That's the only one I can think of. I mean, there's not a lot of memorable moments. I'm sure certain fan bases have a moment that they're attached to, especially if you're an NL guy. But I mean, think about it. If it comes down to Game 7 World Series, I would much rather get 4 at bats out of Yordan Alvarez than watch Lance. I mean, as much as I love Lance and I think he's a good athlete, than watch Lance McCullers go up there and try to,
Yeah.
I'd rather take the big Cuban dude that hits piss missiles into the 5th deck who can't play defense. I'd much rather watch him swing the bat than my pitcher. I think it's much more entertaining baseball.
Yeah, so I was sharing some rare Houston love the other day. First about the Rockets, but then even about the Astros. I said, like, and as much as I can't stand the Astros, and anyone that knows me knows that I do have animus towards that team. I think the Astros they're in a good spot, not this year, but like for like getting all these young guys that you were saying, like a bunch of guys that have never even pitched before, never even pitched in the big leagues are now getting the experience. So your bullpen's getting all types of experience. It looks like you guys are trending up. My Rangers are always ever since that last World Series, it hasn't been good. So like the Astros I think they're gonna be good. I think they're gonna be good very soon.
I think they're already very good.
I'm saying like World Series good. I don't necessarily think they're good enough to win it all this year. I mean, they could. Any team can get hot. There's only 60 games, and we're already 6 games in, or what? We 10 games? How many games are we in?
The Astros are 6-4, so they're 10 games in.
So we're 10 games in. So
I'm going to dispute you here. The Astros, like I said, have lost all their bullpen guys. I feel like they've been hitting awful offensively. They like the top 3 guys are hitting like maybe $190. They did drop a 8-piece on the Diamondbacks last night. Now they were pitching Madison Bumgarner, who's a little past his prime, but still, I think the Astros, if they can get at least 4 to 5 of these arms healthy, I think they're a contender. I don't know why. I don't think you can dispute that they're not. They just faced the Dodgers, who were 100% healthy in their bullpen, in their rotation, in their arm, and the Dodgers couldn't barely put them away.
Yeah,
think about it. They couldn't hit all these young guys. They scored, what was it, like 7 runs in 2 games, 6 runs in 2 games. They got 5 of those runs in 1 inning.
Yeah, Brantley's been really good. Like that dude is leading the league in hitting percentage.
Except for Joe Kelly hurt him, so he's nursing. Well, whenever he stepped on his foot at first base, and then Joe Kelly threw a little hissy fit. because Joe Kelly's a little bitch. Michael Brantley rolled his ankle, and he's been nursing kind of a.
Oh, that's not good.
But
I was
Kyle Tucker's been raking in his place, so
Yeah.
and we should be getting Jordan back here pretty quick. That'll be huge. I can't wait to see that dude back in the batter's box. So
Man, there's a lot of good young hitters. Like I've been watching the Padres. What is his name? Tatis Hernandez. Is that
Fernando
his name?
Tatis Jr. is going to be a superstar. He is
Holy
so
shit!
good.
That guy is ridiculous. That Padres team is good.
They're solid. I don't know
Yeah,
if they have the pitching.
Yeah, I mean they're young. I think they're gonna surprise a lot. They're gonna be hard to beat. I'm hoping Profar can kind of get it going, and he's. I always root for him. I wanted him to be really good for the Rangers. It just didn't happen. He's not doing very well right now, but it's just one of those. You ever have that one guy you just want him to do well?
I hate to break it to you, he ain't never.
He was so talented. Like whenever he came in, like he had so much hype.
His first hit was a home run against the Astros in Minute Maid Park, and I was like, "Ah, crap! Rangers got themselves a stud." And this is before I had any disdain for the Rangers. Like we had just joined the division. Y'all were at the top. We were, we were losing 100 games a year. So I didn't have the disdain I have for the Rangers now. But back then, I mean, I was like, I like young prospects. I was like, man, Profar's got to be good. And I was like, I think, what was his name? Y'all's right fielder. He doesn't play for y'all anymore, but he was coming up around the same time. And it's like, man, Rangers got a pretty good looking core. And then Profar just fell off the planet. Rougned Odor had one good year, that little weasel looking dude. And then,
oh my God.
And then he's fallen off.
He's real, like,
he's such a punk. He is such a punk.
I always love him for punching Bautista in the face. Like I think that got him a new contract. That's what I think, because he hasn't been good in it's like that year he was good when he punched Bautista. I was like, yeah, let's re-sign him. That's when they signed him again. And he's either hitting very well and then he'll strike out 3 times in one game. Like it's like he's real hit or miss. He's so inconsistent.
He's homer or bust, which you don't want from a second baseman.
I don't. Yeah.
Your second baseman should not be your homer or bust guy.
No. And like they're kind of moving him around and in the hitting order, and now he's hurt. I don't think he's hurt. I think they took him out. And I think they want to try out something new.
Just get him out of there.
It just wasn't working. And they're talking about taking him out of the lineup for a while. I know they were doing that last year, where they were like, "Yeah, I think we're gonna take him out." They kept threatening him because he has so much potential. He can be really good, but this is what he is. Like he's gonna disappoint you no matter what. He's like every Dallas team.
I'll never forget in like 2016 when he had that big year. I got into an argument with the dude on Twitter, and he told me, being serious, that he would take Odor over Jose Altuve, and I have been laughing in that dude's face since that day. I'm like, you'll take the guy named after an odor, whose little brother forcibly masturbated another minor leaguer. You'll take that guy.
I don't know that story.
Oh, you don't know that story? Oh yeah,
No,
it was his little brother in the Rangers minor league system that they were hazing, is what we'll call it. Hazing. It was not hazing. They were forcibly masturbating other people. Whoa. And his little brother was at the lead of it. You didn't know about this?
No, I think the team's been so bad. And there was like a couple years ago where I was just like, I just checked out. I was like, I'll check back in during the playoffs. There was a couple of those years with the Rangers, like we have no shot. And then this year, since we didn't have any sports, I'm just like I'm like overindulging, where I'm watching two or three games a day. My baby watches it too. He's into it. He's like, I like baseball, so that's why we're into baseball again. I'm just happy to have sports. But I totally missed out on that story. That seems like a story I should know about because that's hilarious.
Yeah, so I found an article on outsports.com. Here, I'll pull up the browser so the viewers can see it. It's from 2016. Texas Rangers prospects allegedly pinned down and masturbated underage teammate. One of the alleged perpetrators is Rognedor, brother of Rangers second baseman with the same name. Um, the episode was apparently posted on Snapchat, and a video was seen on Yahoo Sports. I didn't know that.
Whoa. Damn, they showed him.
That's the Texas Rangers, everybody.
Yeah. We're going to haze you by masturbating you.
By forcibly masturbating you and putting it on Snapchat. That's the Texas Rangers way. And then, then you had the whole incident with...
Me too.
You had the whole incident with Joey Gallo, who, like... He, like, got off on hitting homers and then grabbing his teammates' junk.
Yeah, I remember that.
That was weird. And then, like... I remember someone on Twitter said something to the effect of, "Oh, it's baseball. Everybody does it." I'm like, bro, I played 8 years of organized baseball growing up. Not once did anyone touch my junk, or did I touch anyone else's junk in celebration.
Yeah, it's called the nut check, and you don't do that for fun. You hated that when someone nut checks you. That's why every time if you play any sports growing up, when you walk around your friends, you always guard your nuts. That's a thing. It's not fun. You just like when someone looks at you like, oh, whoa, what are we doing here?
Apparently to Joey Gallo and Nomar Mazara, it is fun. And
yeah.
And the thing is, like in the video, I don't want to pull it up right now, but like it's not just a little check. Like they're getting a grab, man. Like they're feeling it. It's strange.
Yeah, and they allowed it too. I'm not comfortable with that. I don't.
That was weird. I actually really like Joey Gallo. I give myself one Ranger player a year that I can like.
Yeah.
For a long time, it was Adrian Beltre. Right now, it's Joey Gallo. I like Joey Gallo.
Man, Joey Gallo's awesome. I think, but that guy, his eyes trip me out. It looks like he does a lot of coke.
He might. He does play for the Rangers.
Yeah, he looks. Yeah, he does live in Dallas.
He does live in Dallas.
He looks like he has like a lot of propositions to like kind of shoot at you. You're like, oh, okay, all right, I don't want to talk right now. He's like, oh no, I got some ideas. So, like,
I got this idea I want to run by you. Just hear me out for a second.
We're like, no, just go hit that baseball. We're fine. We're fine.
So you and Parker were talking NBA talk the other day in the group chat, in the Old Man group chat. By the way, I forgot to throw this in there. Sean is a writer for us on Old Man Entertainment. He hasn't posted anything in a while. He's been busy with school, but you can find his stuff on Old Man Entertainment, soon to be oldmanentertainment.com. But anyway,
nice.
So we're working on it. Parker and I are working on it. We're going to hopefully get the website domain purchased. But you and Parker were watching some NBA this past week as the NBA is back. The NBA bubble is officially a thing. What have you seen so far? What are your first impressions of the NBA bubble?
Well, so here's the thing. The bubble's great. I think that's the right way to go. If you're gonna have a shortened season, I don't think an NFL could do it. It's too many players. It's too long. But this is it's basically 8 games. You get the playoffs. So I've been watching a few teams. I've been I watch the Lakers because I'm a LeBron guy. I don't really like his political stuff. It gets kind of like over the top. I get it, but it's like ugh. But him as an athlete is great. So I want him to win another championship. So the Lakers, I think, are the best team. Everyone says it's the Clippers because the Clippers they're a lot more deep. So the Clippers are probably the best team, but I wouldn't bet against LeBron. Another team, I've been watching the Mavs because that's kind of like I would say that's more of my team because I hated the Lakers growing up, and ever since LeBron went to the Lakers, it just doesn't feel right cheering for the Lakers. But the Mavs, I've been watching the Mavs. They're very disappointing. Luka's been great. Porzingis has been pretty good. It's just like everyone that's around him, it's just like LeBron when he played for every team he played for, like whenever like all of his role players would just watch him at the end of games. And they would just wait for him to make the big plays, and that's what's happened with the Mavs. The Mavs, like you have all these role players just kind of just watching him, just waiting for him to make the big play, and I think they lead the league in they're the worst in the league at the end of games, so they're the opposite of clutch. They're not very good at the end. It's just they're currently the 7th seed, so. They would play the Clippers, and I don't feel good about that. No one wants to play the Clippers right now. That's not a good seed to be in, and that's why losing. They just lost to Houston for the first game coming back, and Houston, of course, Dallas was up by 10 with like 2 minutes left, and they blew the game. And Houston is now like a fifth seed because they just keep winning. I mean, they lost the other day, and I think I don't know, they're playing right now, but I don't have the game on. So the Mavs are slated right now. If the season ends today, they play the Clippers, and I think Houston,
which is an L, huh?
yes, it's a guaranteed L.
It's a guaranteed
And
L.
if they keep winning, because they won the other day against Sacramento, everyone beat Sacramento. They're not very good. They if they can somehow sneak into the sixth seed, they would play Denver, which Denver isn't a pushover team, but I like my chances against Denver than the Clippers. But yeah, so that's kind of my take on the Mavs. I just hope they can turn it around. Rick Carlisle, he's like one of the great coaches. I'm kind of like on the fence about that. I don't know. Like he had that where they beat. I think the greatest playoff performances by a team has to be what I saw the Mavs do to Miami. That was amazing when they won that, and that was a Rick Carlisle team, and like it was great. I just there's something missing with him. I don't know what it is.
I will say, I tend to like Luka Doncic a lot, and I'll tell you why. In like NBA, like 2K, like 18 or 16, I had a my GM. I don't know if you're an NBA guy, NBA 2K guy. There are people that'll hear this. I had a my GM account with the San Antonio Spurs, and I had the 1-2 punch of DeJounte Murray, and then I had him paired with a like Siberian dude. And I don't know, where's Luka from? Is he from Siberia?
He's somewhere Eastern European. He's like in the part of Europe where all the women are very tall and very beautiful. Look up Luka Doncic's mom. She's, oh my god.
Basically, I had like a Siberian dude who was just a beast, and he's basically what Luka is. He was basically what Luka is now. And so when Luka came up, I was like, that's my NBA 2K guy. Like, that's my dude. Yeah. So I love Luka. I love the way he plays. But I don't think you can argue that the Houston Rockets have the best player on the planet right now. I mean, he's dropping 40 pieces on a nightly basis.
You talking about Harden?
Harden. I mean, dropping 40, 50 pieces.
I hate Harden. I can't stand. Like, there's no player I hate more than, and I don't care what team he plays for. He's so hard to watch. He's really good. I'm not gonna say he's not.
He drops 40 pieces on a nightly basis like it's nothing.
Yeah, this is my thing about Harden and all these players. It's just like the league's so soft now. Like you barely gets touched. This is my get off the lawn rant. It's just, oh man, basketball's like compared to what it used to be.
Hey, LeBron gets the same courtesy though. If not more. Definitely. LeBron's the king. Definitely. I mean,
I totally agree with that. And if you put LeBron in the 90s, like everyone's like, oh, imagine putting him against the that Detroit team or the Bulls. I'm like, you don't think he would just run through people? LeBron, he only plays like that because that's how the league is. But and Harden's smart. Harden's like, this is how the league is. I'm gonna play to how the rules are, and if I get touched, I'm gonna act like I got like someone just elbowed me in the face. Like that's just how it is. And I get it. I just don't like it.
Yeah, you got to get your free bucket somehow. He gets paid a lot of money doing it. So, his teams win until they get to the playoffs, and then they stop winning. And then Parker starts drinking, and you know.
Yeah, but this is the thing, and I said this the other day on Twitter. It was like the Rockets are scary good. They're also deep, and they're a small ball team, but like if you're gonna compare them to other small ball teams like Golden State, they actually attack the rim a lot. Like you got Russell Westbrook who likes to attack. So like if your guys aren't like hitting shots like how you want them to, because that's how what they're kind of built around, you can kind of just like hang on Westbrook to kind of like he's gonna be like your ISO guy. So he's gonna. And another thing what's been the problem with Houston all these years with like Harden, or even like when Westbrook was with OKC, was there by the time they got to the playoffs, they're tired. But now they don't have to travel anymore. Like they're all in the same bubble, and they don't have to travel at all. Like they had months off, so they have all this energy. If you watch any of the games right now, there's a lot of like the games are intense. Like regular season games don't look like this. This is like crazy. So like they're all fun to watch. Like that Phoenix and Sixers game was intense when they had that game winning shot. They're fun right now. It's I know there's no fans, so that kind of takes away from it. But I'm just glad that's back. It's good. The NBA what the NBA is doing is good. I hope the NFL is also good.
I hope they're able to replicate, because I think MLB, the biggest issue they're having, like you said, NBA, the guys come, they're rested, they're ready to go. All they're doing, living, breathing basketball. In baseball, because of the way they rush to get the season going, I mean, the pitching injuries are through the roof. You've had Noah Syndergaard out. You have Justin Verlander's been out. I mean, Roberto Osuna's probably going to have Tommy John now. That's the Astros closer. I mean, Corey Kluber. The list goes on and on and on. And I just got a report that Max Scherzer had to exit early today. So,
oh no.
So I mean, and that'd be terrible for the Nationals, especially like the Astros are in a situation where if Justin Verlander needs Tommy John, they're looking at being without him not only for 2020 but for 2021, and that's devastating for this shortened season where we rushed everybody back. Now the Astros lose their ace for the entire 2021 season. I mean, and I'd hate that to be the national situation. That's what happens with Max Scherzer, but I think that's the biggest difference that we're seeing here. NBA players came 100% healthy, ready to go. Not that baseball players weren't staying in shape, but there's a level of stretched out. That's why you have spring training. If we've learned anything about this whole thing, we've learned how important spring training is, because we've seen so many pitching injuries. I mean, it's been relentless how many guys we've seen be getting hurt. And on the Astros alone have had, like, on the major league roster, like 9 pitching injuries. And I know that their top prospect, Forrest Whitley, has been shut down due to arm soreness. So, it's not.
I was going to ask you about him.
He would have been called up, but apparently is struggling with some arm soreness. So, it's another guy that's struggling with this rushed back fatigue and this injury. And I think that's an element that the NBA has not had to struggle with, because there's not this level of having to get stretched out. You know, you're not putting so much stress on your arm. In the NBA, it's all about your knees and your ankles, and of course, to an extent, your upper body. But for the most part, you just got to keep your lower body in shape, make sure your leaping ability's there, make sure your upper body is strong so you can do the box outs and stuff. MLB is so much more technically specific. I hope the NFL doesn't have issues with their quarterbacks, but as long as they stretch it out and they don't rush everything in like baseball did. Now, baseball's in a situation where their initial start date got pushed, so they didn't get to actually, have a regular preseason. Both the NBA was more than 3/4 of the way through before they had to shut down. The NFL has a chance to start on time and play on time, which should help eliminate those type of injuries. But MLB pitching injuries has become a big concern, especially if Max Scherzer goes down to a situation like this. I think that's a big red flag.
Well, you going to the NFL, they eliminated all the preseason games, so like you got to think like that's going to contribute to some injuries, because these players aren't going to be ready. They're just going to go straight into games. Are they going to like try to have scrimmages? Like
I'm sure
weird.
They'll have scrimmages. I mean, you have to realize that
against themselves, but against other teams.
It'll probably be against other teams. They'll have those inter-squad scrimmages that you see on Hard Knocks all the time. But, I mean, you have to realize that in preseason scrimmages, I mean, the starters only play the first quarter, and maybe like the fourth preseason game, they'll play like the first half. So I think it's not as big of a deal. I know that a lot of NFL players don't like preseason in general. So they've been calling to get it eliminated before the whole pandemic. I don't see that as
Yeah.
big of a deal. I think in the NFL, it's not as big of an issue. Maybe you'll see some guys that are a little bit rusty week 1 and 2, but it won't take near as long to shake that rust off. I mean,
Yeah.
so
I'm just pro preseason because the great Tony Romo, if there wasn't a preseason, there would never be the great Tony Romo.
yeah. But
So
if there
that
wasn't a preseason, Tony Romo wouldn't have been hurt.
yeah, that's true.
Now he might have gotten
You
hurt
got me on that one.
he might have gotten hurt week 1, but he got hurt in a preseason game, a meaningless preseason game. So
Yeah, but then there would be no we would have never known we would eventually saw the Dak Prescott.
he would eventually showed up. But
The good Dak Prescott. I don't know if he's great yet.
don't make me go down that route, man.
We can, because I was at a family reunion, and I had people trying to tell me that Dak Prescott is awful. I was like, when did that happen? When did he suck? I don't know what happened. He was one of the leading quarterbacks last year, like in every statistical category.
Almost threw for 5,000 yards, over 30 touchdowns, less than 12 interceptions. Like, led his team
What
to
does
the
he have to
playoffs.
do?
Like, he needs to win a Super Bowl. That's what
Yeah.
I meant. That
Eventually he will. I don't know
that
if
is
he'll be
the
with the
issue.
Cowboys.
That is the issue. He needs to win a Super Bowl. He needs to win
Yeah,
a Super Bowl, or he needs to go play for the 49ers, and then all of a sudden he'll be loved. But because he
Yeah.
plays for the Cowboys and they're not winning Super Bowls, he could put up godly numbers. Until
Yeah.
he wins the big one, he's not going to get that elite title. I disagree with that, but that's just the situation that Dallas Cowboy quarterbacks face. Look at Tony Romo.
Yeah.
He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league for 10 years. Never got the recognition because the Cowboys never won the big one.
Yeah, Romo had more than one. He had just where he was at. He had to play his opponent, and he also had to play against Jason Garrett. So that's what held him back. And then he had the worst call of all time, or when Dez caught it, because he did catch it.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
He did catch it, and they pretty much stole that from Romo. It just I can go on a Romo rant all day. That's just he's one of my favorite players of all time. I just think he's going to be looked at unfavorably historically, and anyone that has any animus towards Tony Romo, I'm going to fight to the death. That's just what I am.
Well, and the thing about Tony Romo, people forget that in his career, and the time span from his career started to when he became a starter to when his career ended, nobody had more game-winning drives in the fourth quarter than Tony Romo. Yet he has this era, I guess, this aura of being known as a not clutch player, and it's because they never won in the playoffs. Whether it was his fault or not, it's a part of being a Dallas Cowboys quarterback. Look at the history of Dallas Cowboy quarterbacks. Roger Staubach, he won Super Bowls. Troy Aikman, he won Super Bowls. I mean, so until you're winning Super Bowls, you're not going to be put on that same pedestal. You could be freaking Patrick Mahomes, putting up Patrick Mahomes numbers in Dallas. But if you don't win a Super Bowl, you're not going to be considered Patrick Mahomes. You're going to be considered Dak Prescott. You're going to be, oh, he's good, but he's not elite. Oh, he's not going to lead you to a Super Bowl.
Yeah, you remember that Vikings playoff game where every time Romo would snap the ball, he'd already be sacked?
Yeah,
Like when
he
they played Brett Favre?
he never had the team around. That 1 year they had the team around him, they got screwed. That was the 1 year they had the team. They had the O-line, they had the defense, they had the wide receivers, they had DeMarco Murray, who was at his prime. Like, that was the year. That was their year. And you can make, of course, the Cowboys should have found a way to win that game with or without that penalty, but there's no arguing that penalty really hurt them.
Yeah.
That was you always talk about a window, right? That was the end of that window. That was once DeMarco Murray left and Des Bryant started falling off, that was the end of that window. The Cowboys have a window open right now, but if they don't win it in the next 2 to 3 years, it might even end this year. If they can't keep Dak Prescott in Dallas, the window closes. I think there's no arguing that having a top-tier quarterback, unless you have just an absolutely elite defensive unit, a.k.a. the Broncos of Peyton Manning era, they can just carry you up there, and they're that good. Which the Cowboys have a good defense, but they're not that good.
And that's definitely not this team.
No.
The secondary, it has so many holes. I'm worried about that. But the front seven is really good.
It is, but it's not good enough to carry you to a Super Bowl.
No.
If you look at teams in the NFL, you give me a good team, I'll point to you a good quarterback. It's just simple as that. If they lose Dak Prescott, I do like Andy Dalton, but I don't think Andy Dalton's going to lead you to the playoffs.
That just gave, when they signed him, which they signed a really good contract. He's getting paid pennies pretty much for a guy that was just he was a starting quarterback, and you're paying him like, I don't know. It's such a small contract. It's crazy. But you just saw the craziest takes like, oh, that's Dak's replacement. I'm like, really? You think so? Like, where is this? It was just like over the summer, like, or after that Eagles game, everyone turned on him. He's just like, that's not his fault. I don't know, man. The team, they just didn't look prepared for that game. Dak, wasn't he hurt? Didn't he hurt his finger or something?
I'm not sure. All I know is I'm with you. They didn't look prepared. I think there's been way too many times where the Dallas Cowboys have not looked prepared for what they're going to face.
That Eagles game was a great loss, though. If you think about it, if we didn't lose that game, then the Eagles probably have CeeDee Lamb right now.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And I think that Dallas Cowboys wide receiving core is going to be really fun to watch. Here's to hoping we get a normal NFL season. But
I really hope so, because if I don't get the NFL, I'm going to lose my mind. I need football so bad, because I think college football is going to start. I don't think it'll finish, because you got to think, what if they have an outbreak? What if someone dies? In the NFL, they're getting paid. College football, there's like almost no moral argument to make, because they're always like, well, what if you have an outbreak, like say like how the Marlins had in the MLB? If that happens in college football, that's like you're talking about 100 players on a college football roster. So that's like 3 times as many. So imagine like these guys, like there's like how many cases did the Marlins have? Like 19?
19 to 17. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're talking about close to 6. That if you had that like in college football, it'd be closer to 60. Like if you're gonna like triple that or whatever. So imagine that happens in college football. They're gonna shut that down. You're gonna be like, yeah, this isn't good. And I think that's what might happen, and I'm worried. That's what I'm worried about.
Well, I guess only time will tell. That's going to do it, I think, for this week's 1203. I think it was a good episode. Sean, I appreciate you stepping in for good old Parker Rhea this week. I think, other than you didn't wear the Hawaiian shirt, that would have been a good...
I don't own one. I got to go buy one now.
Maybe next time you step in for Parker.
And I can't grow the little, his little facial hair. Like, look at how it grows in. It doesn't grow in well at all.
I'll buy you some of that. What's that stuff called that's supposed to make your facial hair grow?
How you fill it in?
Yeah, you just like rub it on and it'll grow.
Yeah, it's because my dad's Mexican and we can't grow facial hair. That's just what it is.
It is what it is. Anyway, thank y'all for listening to the 1203. Sean, where can people find you? What's your Twitter? Drop your ats, man.
I only use Twitter. I kind of use Facebook, but just follow me on Twitter. It's Sean ATX24, SeanATX24.
All right.
That's right.
Sean, this probably not be the last time you hear us on the show. You can find Sean's writing expertise on our website. You can find the website. It'll soon be oldmanentertainment.com. Right now, you can find it on our Twitters, Sean's, myself's, or Parker's. Thank y'all for tuning in. We will talk to y'all next week.
Yep. All right. Good stuff. I have some stuff I was gonna write. So I'm